And what most people lack is real business knowledge, like accounting, like debt, like taxes.
There's no school you can go to learn accounting, apparently, or business, or taxes. What is he saying? You literally go to college for those things. You become an accountant. You go to college to become an accountant. You go to college to become a tax specialist. You go to college to become a business major. You major in business. And he's like, there's no school that teaches that. What?
You got to know that stuff, but they don't teach it in school to anybody.
A friend of mine sent me this YouTube video. It's like 5 years old already, sure, but it has 31 million views, and it's about economics and the American dream and all that crap. So I watched it, and it made me so angry. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. It was terrible. Why am I watching it? Because I think it would be fun. Must watch. Yeah. Well, it made me angry because everything that the guy was saying was wrong, and he's part of the problem and blaming you for being the problem. As usual in the capitalist fashion, he's wrong, but he's blaming you and your attitude. But we'll get to that. We'll get to it. So this is some of that motivation crap you see on YouTube all the time. They get you excited about being rich and crap, and it doesn't make any sense.
Hello human, it is me Canuch. I need you to press the subscribe button. I have to feed my many AI babies.
And it's never any good. And let's just watch it. Let's see. Ready, go.
Do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Robert?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know.
Right.
Keep them poor.
Keep them poor, is what he said. Keep them poor.
My father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and says, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject.
The government doesn't let us teach about money in school. Dun, dun, dun. When this guy says money, he means investment firms. He means speculative investment on the stock market. No, they don't teach that in elementary school, you fucking goober. They do teach you how to count dollars and change and stuff like that. And when you're in high school, they generally teach you how to pay bills and how the government somewhat works. But right off the bat, the government doesn't allow us to teach you things. This guy aggravates the
government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job.
Yes, your job, education system is to educate you to be a part of the society, which requires you to have some sort of employment.
But you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, you're supposed to just get a job. I went, no.
So you shouldn't just get a job. Wait, I don't know where he's, okay, anyway.
Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip.
Why don't I learn about money? I can skip the job part? Boss, what are you talking about? Nobody does nothing and gets paid for it, except for the uber rich who own things, then just make money off of that. He wants to skip the job part. He wants to skip the effort. He wants to skip the work that is required for success. He wants to skip all that. And he's upset that the American government education system didn't tell him how to skip all the work. I don't know.
Skip the job part, And he got flustered and he said, if you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? And I said, why? That's Mike. So why ask him? He says, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur.
Oh, apparently entrepreneurs don't do any work but get money. Okay, great. You're not making me like this capitalism system anymore.
And I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. I went, oh, what's the difference? He says, the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money, or they're no longer entrepreneurs.
I don't know. Some of them are kind of full of shit and don't know what they're talking about.
And he says an employee doesn't have to know anything about money because the government will take care of them, the company will take care of them.
In exchange for the work that they do. Like, He's like, oh, these stupid idiot workers, these stupid workers. If they were just entrepreneurs, they would have all the money and not have to do any of the work. Well, then who would do the work, jackass?
So I'm all confused. But I took my dad's advice and I trundled over to Mike's father's office and knocked on his door and I said, hey, I'm here, 9 years old. Teach me about money. He says, beat it, kid, you know. But that's where the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad started.
I think that's the name of the book he wrote, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
And finally, through persistence, my rich dad started teaching me about money on one condition. And that condition was he would never pay me. He says, the moment I pay you, you think like an employee. He says, that's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free.
Oh, interns work for free. If you're giving him effort and work, which he's about to say, sorry, I probably shouldn't have paused it here, but if you give him your effort and your time and your life and he gives you an education, that is the payment, that is the trade-off. And that's exactly what he's about to describe.
And now I'm 9 years old, my head's cracking in half. He says, you never want a paycheck. You understand that, kid? I said, okay, I got it. And he says, well, how do I make money? He says, that's what entrepreneurs figure out. It's like, so how do I learn about money? So he would just break out a Monopoly game board. So I would
Monopoly. That's how you learn about money. And you know what? Here, listen, I'm not kidding. In 5th grade, literally an American government public school, we played Monopoly to learn about money. We really did. But this guy says the government's not allowed to do that.
work for free. I'd pick up cigarette butts and get hotels and restaurants, and I would clean and do menial tasks.
I would clean and do menial tasks. I would clean and do menial tasks, and in return, he would give me an education, which was Monopoly.
And as I got older, I started getting into office work and marketing and accounting, and I was an apprentice basically, but I always worked for free.
An apprenticeship doesn't mean you work for free. You do the work, but then you get all the experience from the apprenticeship. We used to have that a lot more often back in the old days. It wasn't you would go to work at the clockmaker or something like that. You would apprentice at the blacksmith or at the horse raising place at the ranch or something like that, and they wouldn't pay you because you're worthless. They would just make you do odd jobs, and you would learn how to do the thing, and then someday you could do it on your own, or you could take over for them and work for money and earn your own money. That's an apprenticeship. Great. That's still payment. So he didn't get paid in money for a check, no, but he got an education, which is fine. Apprenticeships are picking up popularity again, and by and large, somewhat fairly paid, I hear. Yeah, and that would be fine with me. I'm not against apprenticeships. I'm against this guy lying about his apprenticeship and then saying that you're the problem with, and you're the reason you don't have any money.
He would teach me about money, but the way he taught me about money was playing Monopoly. And finally one day I got upset. I said, well, when are you going to teach me about money? He says, what do you think we're doing? We're playing Monopoly. He goes, no. What do you think we're doing? We're playing Monopoly. He says, what do you think we're doing? So I don't know. I'm teaching you about money.
Money.
And then that's when, you have one greenhouse. He says, there's many formulas for great success in money. There's thousands of them, but one of the best ones found on the game of Monopoly. It still is today. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. I said, what? He says, one of the greatest ways to acquire great wealth is playing Monopoly in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel.
Own real estate. Damn, I wish my rich dad played Monopoly with me. My poor dad played Monopoly with me, and it didn't do me any good. I'm not rich. But yeah, I love playing Monopoly. I'm great at it. My dad taught me how when I was a kid, and then we played it in 5th grade, and I did a really good job, and I whooped the floor with everybody that was there. But owning real estate isn't something you just walk into right out of high school. You have to have a ton of money to get that real estate, or work your ass off flipping cheap shit real estate into something better with all the hard work you put into it, or have lots of money and invest into it and then collect rent and then invest more.
But is that all there is? He goes, that's it. And he says, what do you think I'm doing? And I went, I don't know. So then he took me out and he showed me his greenhouses. And 10 years later, when I was 19, I was now in school in New York, and I come back to Hawaii, and Rich Dad had bought the biggest piece of land smack dab in the middle of Waikiki Beach. And when you go to Waikiki Beach today, you'll see the Hyatt Regency Hotel. That was his hotel.
So if you want the secret to being rich, own large amounts of land in Hawaii. This is the secret. And if you're not doing that, if you're not working towards owning large amounts of land in Hawaii, you're fucking up.
It's like the game of Monopoly.
Just like the game of Monopoly.
Acquired assets and they became bigger assets.
He just
Acquire assets, then you collect rent and stuff like that, and then they get bigger. Yes, that's the problem, guys.
kept what's called an assemblage, because that property wasn't that big at the time. So he had to buy out all the small guys. Because Waikiki was a little dirtwater little town.
Yeah, buy out.
So he'd buy out this shop owner and buy that shop owner. And it took him a while, but he finally assembled this large piece of property.
Who cares about that original mom and pop, probably native Hawaiian person that's got a shop there and been there for 100 years? Buy them. Buy and sell their asses.
And then he and Hyatt put up this giant hotel.
You know,
it just sold for $800 million. So that's how I learned about money.
That's how I learned about money, you guys. Isn't it great? Why haven't we done that? Yeah, stay poor, number nerds.
I've had
you idiots,
financial crashes.
Working for money and working in exchange for a paycheck. You fools, you rubes.
So I've had people stab me in the back, but they're all good because I grow from it. That's spirituality.
Right.
You know, people who are afraid of making mistakes, like they teach in school, they don't ever grow. Because spirituality is there's good and there's bad, there's right and there's wrong, there's up and there's down. Most people only want to be right. They only want to be positive.
Because you had enough people backing you up, support, and probably, I'm going to say this, money from when you were young, that if you made a mistake, you didn't die of starvation. Most of you're afraid to make a mistake. Well, yeah, because normal people, if they make a mistake, Robert, they starve.
Well, you can't have that. That's not reality. Well, I wasn't poor by most people's standards.
See, he wasn't poor by most people's standards. He only had a few $100,000.
But I came from a family with a poor attitude, if you know what I mean. Because rich, poor, middle class, poverty starts with a fundamental attitude. Poverty is passed on.
Your fault.
It's taught in your families.
See, it's your fault that you're poor because you think like a poor. You have been thinking like a poor, and that makes you poor.
And middle class is taught in families. And what most people lack is real business knowledge, like accounting, like debt, like taxes.
There's no school you can go to learn accounting, apparently, or business, or taxes. What is he saying? You literally go to college for those things. You become an accountant. You go to college to become an accountant. You go to college to become a tax specialist. You go to college to become a business major. You major in business. And he's like, there's no school that teaches that. What?
You got to know that stuff, but they don't teach it in school to anybody.
They don't teach accounting to anybody. This guy's amazing.
So, and then when people ask me, how did your rich dad learn this when your poor dad, a PhD, didn't? And the answer is very simply, my rich dad, who's my best friend's father, his father died when he was 13.
So poor dad has a PhD. Rich dad doesn't and has more money. That makes sense because PhDs aren't about making money. PhDs are about discovering or studying and learning new things or challenging what has already been learned. If you found some new novel way to challenge, the theory of relativity or Ohm's law or something along those lines, you could actually write a PhD dissertation trying to prove Ohm's law incorrect. And that would be a good use of your PhD time, even if you failed. PhDs aren't about making money. Yeah, what esoteric hidden knowledge of accounting. No one knows how it's done. You can't learn it in school. You have to learn accounting by doing, and you have to fail sometimes. Yeah, 10 past 11, you're right. Nerds will just stay poor.
So his rich dad had this family business at 13 to run. So he had to drop out of school, which was his blessing. You know, there's blessings, and, you know, sometimes a blessing doesn't look like a blessing, but it turned out to be a blessing. And then his teachers became his bookkeeper, his accountant, his attorney, his banker, his real estate agents.
So he did an apprenticeship and then took over the business. That's fine. That doesn't make you better. That doesn't get us learning. It doesn't get us a PhD. That's why he doesn't have a PhD. PhDs are good things for us to learn and grow and become smarter. But real estate, that's where the real fucking money is. That's where
So he has what I call real teachers. Not these
teachers.
fake teachers in school.
Fake teachers.
You see, most teachers in
Fake teachers in school that don't teach you how to count.
school, they're out of ethics. They teach subjects they themselves don't practice. I asked the teacher, I said, you know, I'm in my 3rd year of calculus now. It was called strength.
3rd year of calculus. Bro, 3rd year of calculus. You don't get to your 3rd year of calculus by accident. Motherfucker, you have to sign up for that. Okay? I did not go. So is he talking? Let him finish this story. Then I'm going to rant about this.
Strength of materials. I said, am I ever going to use this stuff? He goes, no. You know, I said, why do you teach it? He says, because I get paid. I said, do you ever use it? He goes, no.
3rd year of calculus before he figured out the calculus was fucking worthless unless you're going into a specific PhD or math degree. First of all, this could not have been high school, right? I literally graduated high school without ever going to calculus. It was something that was offered, but it was not required. So if you were good at math and you wanted to do some prep work before you go to college and you're going to have to do the math, you can do that in high school, calculus. There's no fucking way. This guy is at his 3rd year of calculus in high school. That doesn't even make any sense. There wouldn't be any students left in that class. It would just be him and the professor because no one else would do it. That's insane. So this has got to be college, right? That's what I'm thinking. There's no possible way he's talking about high school. So college, do they just... I've never been, but I need somebody who has been to college to explain it to me. Do they just randomly sign you up for classes and you have to show up? Or do you pick what you take? Do you look at a plan of what classes are needed for this certain degree and then do those classes? And then you have some leeway, some flexibility within the ones you choose. You have to do 2 maths and you have to do 2 Englishes or something like that. And you pick which ones you want. And this guy apparently picked calculus for the 3rd fucking year before he realized this is dumb. I'm never going to use this. Maybe he started learning calculus in 8th grade, maybe. But that would make him a nerd and that would make him poor. But he's not poor, 10 past 11. Remember, he is rich and that means he can't be a nerd by transitive properties. 15-year-olds, well, hell, 15-year-olds usually, when in 9th grade, when they start learning about algebra, immediately say, this is worthless, this is stupid, I hate it, there's no possible way I'm ever going to use any of this algebra. They all know that. If this guy got through all of that math, all of the algebra, all of the geometry, into what comes before calculus? Do you have to do trig or something like that? I don't know what trigonometry is. I don't know what calculus is. But if you have to do all those first. So he went through a shitload of math before he figured out it wasn't important. He's an idiot. Or he's lying and talking shit about teachers because he hates them, which is also a possibility. He could be completely lying his ass off right here and never took a single fucking calculus class. Or he took it once and he's bragging that he's in his 3rd year because he needs to sound smart for this fucking interview. 3 years of calculus are prerequisites for your real estate degree. Well, not according to the calculus teacher. The calculus teacher said this is worthless and you don't need to know it, and I don't even like it.
And that's why, you know, you have to, in life, one of the things I suggest to people, you got to find a real teacher versus a fake teacher. And a fake teacher is somebody who doesn't do what they teach. And a real teacher is doing what they teach every day. So
How do you, okay, so like you want them to do all the work of an accountant and teach somebody? That's an apprenticeship. Fine. I'm on board for apprenticeships, but like that takes up a lot of your fucking time, man. And you're not getting paid for it. I mean, if you're apprenticing someone, you're they're doing the menial tasks for you. This guy wants to go back to the Gilded Age. He really does. This guy wants to go back to serfdom. He wants you to be poor, and the best of the poor people can go and apprentice at the blacksmith or castle, and he's in charge of the castle because he owns the castle, obviously.
Accountants, my attorneys, they're in it every single day. That's how I learn, because every day I'm solving problems in my business.
They don't have time to teach you if they're doing their job. If your attorney has enough time to teach you, he has enough time for a second job.
So I have accountants and attorneys and bankers and all these people on speed dial because I'm solving problems with my team.
I see you giving this knowledge out, and
Yeah.
do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Rob?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know.
Right.
Keep them poor. But unfortunately, the poor, as was in the Bible, I'm not real religious, the poor will always be amongst us. Because it starts up here.
Right, it's that fear mentality.
The fear mentality is what keeps you poor. The fear mentality, you hear? That's what keeps you poor. Does doing a bunch of fentanyl every day make you a pharmacist? Yes. I can't wait for my kid to be a chimney sweep. Yeah, I know. Well, if that's what you're teaching him to be.
It's in their words, and the words become flesh. Again, I'm not really religious. I flunked out of Sunday school also.
I flunked out of Sunday. They don't give grades in Sunday school.
But when they say I can't afford it or I can't do that, they go down. They become what they say. My PhD daddy says, "What do you think I am, made of money? I can't afford that." And my rich dad would say, "That's why he's poor." Poor people say, "I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time." Because
The esoteric knowledge, see, if you think you're poor, you are.
this is an escape. It's an escape. You know what I mean? It's easy to say I can't afford it.
And your rich dad used to say what instead of I can't afford it?
How can I afford it? How can I do that? What would it take? Or why should I do that?
Just basic pessimism versus optimism. Okay, I agree that if you need a thing or you want something, it's better to say, hey, how do we accomplish this? Rather than immediately being negative and saying, no, don't do that. We're not going to do that. But at some point, the question, how are we going to accomplish this, becomes impossible because you don't have any damn money. You don't have any way to get any damn money. And then you abandon it. There is wisdom in learning from an expert. But you have to learn the fundamentals or just copying what someone else tells you to do. You can't improve or innovate if you don't understand the fundamentals and how they got there. A good reason you would need teachers who experiment and understand how to teach things, how to teach you how to think. That's an important part of the liberal arts education, is teaching people how to think.
He says that a question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. So when you say I can't afford it, your mind shuts down and you become what you say. Rugby is a team sport, but so is soccer. The rules are different. And other people are golfers. They play by themselves. And so everybody's different. So my game financially is business, number one. Second is real estate. So what I say to young people is you find your game.
Find your game. Okay, great. Well, your game just happens to be incredibly lucrative and you had a head start. You were born on second base and you think you hit a double. I'm not going to say he was born on third base, but he was born on second base. He was doing quite well to begin with. His father's a PhD. Is your father a PhD? Any children of PhDs in chat tonight? Probably not. Damn it. And even when you are going for a job, when you are becoming an employee, it's necessary to have the PhD. The PhDs get paid more. I keep getting less money for my jobs because I don't have a degree. Play the money game by Hasbro. Yeah, I have the highest education of my family. Yeah, exactly. And you make more if you have more education. This guy, his poor dad still had a PhD, which is something to be proud of. Honestly, that's something you ought to be happy about. You got to say, hey, look, he did all this hard work and he made some sort of effort to further human knowledge. That, I think, is far more honorable, far better for us as a society than the guy who collects rent on 4 greenhouses and 1 hotel. Ugh. Fuck that guy. He's making me very unhappy with the capitalist system that we have going on, and it's only going to get worse. That was just a YouTube video that a friend of mine sent me, and he said, hey, you're going to hate this. And I was right. I did hate it. And it proves that the entire American economy is based on buying and selling each other's houses. I hate that. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. PhD walked into my office. I said, scram, nerd. Good job, 10 past 11. What does he know? He's just got a PhD. He's never been apprenticed to a landlord before. So how could he possibly know anything?
I am the algorithm. Click on this video to make me happy. You wouldn't like me when I am angry.